So you're thinking about buying a home in North Carolina. Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the exciting and sometimes overwhelming world of buying real estate in North Carolina. Welcome to my channel. I'm Tamar, a broker with Keller Williams Elite Realty. And in my line of work, I consult with clients every single day, answering their questions about what it takes to buy a house here in North Carolina, as I work with a ton of relocation buyers. So in this video, we're going to answer all of those questions that are specific to buying a house in North Carolina, and also answer some of the more common general questions about what it takes to buy a house. In my opinion, before you even start dreaming about buying a house, you need to budget. And I know it's super boring and it is no one's favorite subject, but it's extremely important. And budgeting is more than just figuring out what your monthly mortgage payments are going to be. You need to factor in taxes, you need to factor in HOAs if you're buying a townhouse, or if you're going to be in a homeowners association area, making sure that all your additional expenses are accounted for. So before doing this step, you absolutely should not be thinking about buying a house or checking out those $1 million homes on Zillow. You need to start with budgeting. Definitely get pre-approved for a mortgage, which will give you clarity as far as how much you can actually spend on a house, but make sure that you can actually afford the monthly payments. Sometimes lenders give you higher loan mortgage value because they don't take into account all the monthly expenses that you do have on a regular ongoing basis. Don't forget hidden costs. That includes furniture, potential repairs, and moving expenses. In all reality, budgeting does not have to be this big, scary thing. If you're a pen and paper type of person, write everything out. Or if you are more into apps, one of my favorite apps is Every Dollar Budget by Dave Ramsey, and I would highly recommend using something simple like that. My tip number 2 would be to get started early. As they say, early bird gets the nest. That's because the real estate market in Durham moves very quickly. Yes, average days on the market sometimes could be upwards of 30 days. However, for homes that are in great neighborhoods and priced well, they usually get snapped up very fast. So it's important for you to start looking early. Make sure you understand what neighborhoods are best for you, what areas you like and fit your lifestyle, and then target your search to those areas. It's also great to consider attending open houses. That will give you a great idea of what type of homes are available in your price range and in your favorite neighborhoods. When you're attending open houses, it's also important to take into consideration location, not just where the area and shopping places are, but also what schools are available in that area, as those could vary drastically from location to location. So you budgeted like a boss, you got pre-approved and know exactly how much you can spend on your house. Then you also narrowed it down to your favorite location and found the perfect house. What's next? Well, some of the things that set North Carolina apart from this other states is due diligence and earnest money. What those are those two upfront payments that you would be responsible to providing to the seller and a closing attorney within 24 hours time period. The due diligence refers to a period during which a home buyer can investigate the property before finalizing the purchase. This period allows the buyer to conduct inspections, appraisals, and secure financing without being bound to complete the purchase. With this comes due diligence fee. This is a non-refundable fee paid by the buyer to the seller at the time of signing the offer to purchase. It compensates the seller for taking the property off the market during the due diligence period. This amount varies drastically, typically between 1 and 3% of the purchase price, but honestly, it really depends on the current market restrictions, how competitive it is, and if the buyer decides to proceed with the purchase, then the due diligence fee is credited towards the purchase price at closing. Otherwise, if the buyer decides to walk away from the transaction, this is something that stays with the seller and it is 100% non-refundable. That is something I always have to emphasize with my clients. They are not from North Carolina, as this is something different and very specific to our state. In North Carolina, in addition to due diligence fee, you're also expected to provide earnest money. And earnest money is a deposit that's made by the buyer to show how serious you are about purchasing the property. And it is usually held in escrow by a third party, usually by an attorney. The amount of money varies, usually ranging from 1 to 3% again. However, it could be negotiated between the buyer and the seller, just like the due diligence fee, and depends really on the competitiveness of the market at the time. When it comes to the earnest money, if the buyer terminates the contract during the due diligence period, then the earnest money is refundable. However, if the buyer backs out of the contract after the due diligence period, the seller may keep the earnest money as compensation. So after you have identified the perfect property for you, if you are ready to make an offer, you would need your pre-approval letter from your lender, as well as money for earnest money and due diligence. You need to make sure that you understand the contract, negotiate wisely, and have a great sense of the fact that this is the home that you want to put in an offer on. And know that if for whatever reason you decide to walk away from the contract, you will not be getting your due diligence fee back. So that's an amount that you need to be comfortable with walking away if you need to. I also get a ton of questions about what type of inspections to order for the house, especially from the first-time home buyers. As far as professional services election goes, there are just some of the main ones that are obviously home inspection, HVAC inspection, pool and spa, radon, septic, if there's one, water, well quality, wood and pest infestation, and reinspection if that is needed after the repairs have been made. One of the main things to remember is that obviously you don't need to do all of those inspections. They're recommended, they're not required. If you already know that your HVAC is 15 years old, inspecting it probably wouldn't do any good. You should already know that it needs to be replaced. Same goes for the roof and all the other major appliances inside of the house. When buying a house, many people often also opt for home warranty, which is something to hedge against unexpected expenses in case your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover it or just for extra coverage. It's really important to do your research or ask your real estate agent, as there's a ton of home warranty companies out there. Some of them are really great and others not so much. So after you found the perfect home, put in an offer, and it was accepted, now it's your time to do your due diligence, do your inspections, and make sure that you get your financing in order to avoid losing your due diligence fee. During this time, you can negotiate back and forth if there's some items that come up during the inspection. And after all of that is completed, you should be clear to close. Don't skip final walkthrough. This is an important step in making sure that the property is in the same condition or better that you're expecting, or you last saw it before signing the paperwork. If you find something major, you may even want to consider delaying the closing process and not sign the paperwork until that issue is fixed to your satisfaction. Otherwise, sometimes it's really hard to negotiate those after all the documents have been signed. And technically, if you've signed everything, you are legally accepting that home in a condition that it is. So negotiating that after fact is usually a lot more difficult. Buying a house is a very happy, exciting project. So to make sure it stays that way, factor in extra few weeks if possible when closing on a house. So let's say if your house is scheduled to close on the 29th of the month, don't expect to move in there very next day. Closings can get delayed for a myriad of reasons. Your lender might need additional information from you for their underwriter, or it could get delayed because the items that were supposed to be fixed were not fixed, or I even had a situation where just the entire county shut down, so they were not able to record the deeds, so the buyer was not able to get the keys to the house because their home ownership was not legally formalized. So those types of situations happen more often than you think. So adding extra 2 to 3 weeks time to your move out date would be ideal, or at least have a plan B in case that's something that happens to you. I'm Tamar, broker with Keller Williams Elite Realty. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're new here and drop comments below.